If you've ever driven through Bernards Township in New Jersey after dark, you've probably passed by it without even knowing. Just off Mountain Road, standing all alone in an empty field, there's this gnarled old oak that locals call the Devil's Tree. You'd think it's just another piece of weird folklore, one of those stories old folks tell to keep kids from sneaking out at night. But what happened to my cousin Jake last summer changed how I see that place forever. Jake was always the bold one in our family. The guy who'd laugh during horror movies, prank people in haunted houses, and say things like, "Ghosts aren't real, man. They're just bored imaginations." He was 24, worked construction, drove a beat-up Ford truck, and thought he was invincible. I guess that's why he made a bet one night, to visit the Devil's Tree alone and livestream the whole thing. We were all at our friend Mike's house, hanging out on the back porch, just drinking soda and eating takeout, when the topic of the tree came up. Mike's little brother said, "I heard if you touch it, your hands go numb, and if you pee on it, something follows you home." That got Jake going. He laughed so hard he almost dropped his chicken sandwich. "Y'all are tripping. I'll go touch that ugly thing, dance around it, maybe even take a leak on the roots. Bet nothing happens." Everyone egged him on, laughing, joking, pushing him to do it. It felt harmless, like the way you dare someone to knock on a creepy neighbor's door on Halloween. Jake grabbed his phone, flipped on Facebook Live, and said, "Watch this. I'll be back in 20, with the same dumb smile. That was the last time any of us saw him in person. His live stream started off like any other goofy video. The camera was shaky. He was talking trash to the viewers, calling the stories campfire nonsense. He drove out there alone, windows down, music playing loud. When he got close, the road got dark. No streetlights, no houses, just woods on both sides. Then he parked on the shoulder, grabbed a flashlight, and started walking toward the tree. I remember the comments flooding in. "Be careful, bro. This ain't it, Chief. Dude, turn back." But Jake just laughed and kept going. The tree looked worse than any of us expected. Twisted branches that didn't make sense. Bark blackened like it had been burned, but still somehow alive. There were deep, claw-like gashes in the trunk, like something had tried to rip it apart. And the ground around it, dead. No grass, no bugs, nothing. Jake touched the bark and joked, "I'm touching the Devil's Tree. Ooh, spooky." Then he walked around it, showed the chains embedded in the wood. People say they tried to cut it down, but the chains rusted before they could. He was still laughing, acting like it was no big deal. But then, something changed. The screen glitched for a second, just a blip. Jake stopped talking. He stood still for a moment, shining his flashlight into the woods. "You all hear that?" he asked. We didn't hear anything on the stream, but his face had gone pale. "No, seriously, someone just whispered my name." The comments started going wild. People thought it was a prank, or that someone had followed him out there. But Jake wasn't laughing anymore. He backed away from the tree and kept glancing behind him. "I'm leaving. This ain't funny anymore." That's when the audio cut out. The video kept rolling, but there was no sound. Jake's mouth moved, his eyes were wide, and he looked terrified. He was breathing hard, sweating. He started jogging back toward his truck, but then the screen went black for about 5 seconds. When it came back on, the tree was there again. Jake was back in front of it, but he wasn't holding the flashlight anymore. He was just standing, frozen. His phone tilted slowly as if he'd dropped it, and the last thing we saw was the tree behind him, its branches moving even though there was no wind. The stream ended, just cut off. We called him, texted, tried everything. No answer. Mike and I jumped into my car and drove out there within 15 minutes. When we got to the spot, his truck was still there. Lights off, doors locked. But Jake was gone. We searched with flashlights, yelling his name, looking in the woods, circling the field. Nothing. It was dead silent. No birds, no bugs, not even the wind. Just this heavy feeling, like the air didn't want us there. We called the cops, filed a missing persons report, the whole thing. They did an official search. Dogs, drones, helicopters. No sign of him. Not even footprints past where his truck was parked. They tried to say maybe he ran off. Maybe he staged it as a prank and disappeared on purpose. But we knew Jake. That wasn't his style. He loved attention too much to stay gone this long. A week later, I went back to the tree alone. I don't even know why. Maybe I thought I'd find something everyone else missed. Maybe I just wanted to feel closer to him. When I got there, I noticed something new. On the tree's bark, right where Jake had touched it, there were fingerprints burned into the surface, like the wood had bubbled under someone's hand. And near the base, there were scratch marks in the dirt, like someone had tried to crawl away but didn't get far. And then, I swear I heard him. Just a whisper, right behind me. Don't let it follow you. I turned around so fast, I almost fell over. Nothing was there, but I wasn't alone. I could feel it, like something just outside my vision was watching. I ran to my car, heart pounding so hard it hurt. And when I looked into the rearview mirror, I saw someone standing by the tree. Just for a second, a tall figure, still as stone, watching. I haven't been back since. None of us have. The weird thing is, Jake's live stream, it's gone. Deleted from Facebook. Not by us. Not by his account. Just gone. And every time we try to re-upload it from someone's saved copy, it gets corrupted. Glitches out. Like it doesn't want to be shared. Now, some nights, people say they see movement in that field. Shadows around the base of the tree. Lights that flicker, then vanish. And sometimes, if you park near there and turn off your engine, you'll hear knocking. Not on your car door, but on your window. And if you look, you might see him. Jake, still stuck there. Still trying to warn you. Don't go to the devil's tree. Not alone. Not ever. It had been 3 days since Mason disappeared, and by then, the police were barely pretending to search. They said all the usual things. We're doing our best. He probably just wandered off. We'll let you know if anything turns up. But Sarah knew better. She could feel it deep in her bones. Whatever happened to Mason started and ended with that damn tree. The devil's tree. She'd stared at the pictures on his phone over and over again. Each one taken during the hike. The last picture was just a blurry shot of the trunk, as if Mason had dropped the phone mid-click. That was it. No screams, no signs of struggle, just silence. Sarah didn't tell anyone, but that night, she drove back to the tree alone. It was colder than she remembered, and the woods didn't feel like the same place they'd visited together. They felt darker, quieter, like something was listening. She parked her car at the same lot, zipped up her hoodie, and started walking. She'd brought a flashlight, even though the moonlight filtered through the trees just enough to see the trail. She didn't want to take any chances. Every step felt heavier, like the ground didn't want her to get any closer. It wasn't just in her head. The air got thicker the deeper she went. There were no animals, no bugs, nothing. Just the crunch of her boots on the dead leaves and the low hum of wind pushing through the trees. When she finally reached the clearing, she froze. The tree was still there, just like before, massive, ancient, and twisted in all the wrong ways. Its bark looked blacker now, almost like it had burned from the inside out. The ground around it was dry and cracked, even though it had rained the day before. No other trees grew close to it, and the grass stopped a few feet from the trunk like nature itself refused to come near it. Sarah took a few cautious steps closer. She felt like 1,000 eyes were on her, even though she was completely alone. She circled the tree slowly, examining the bark. It was rough and scarred, like something had clawed at it over and over. She didn't know what she was looking for. A sign? A message? Something to prove Mason had been there? That's when she noticed it. the carvings. There were names etched into the bark, some old and faded, others fresh, too fresh. Mason's name was there, near the bottom, clear as day, carved into the wood like he'd done it himself. But he hadn't. Sarah would have remembered. She reached out to touch it, and the moment her fingers brushed the bark, her vision snapped black. It wasn't like fainting. She was still standing. She could feel the ground beneath her boots and the cold air on her skin. But her eyes weren't seeing the forest anymore. Instead, she was surrounded by something else, something wrong. There was this humming noise, deep and constant, like it came from the earth itself, and voices, so many voices, whispering in a language she couldn't understand. She turned around, heart pounding, and saw figures, shadows really, moving just beyond her sight. Not quite human, not quite animal, just shapes, and all of them were staring at her. She tried to back away, but her body wouldn't listen. She was stuck, frozen, like the tree had her in its grip. Then one of the shadows stepped forward. It looked like Mason, or at least, it wore his face, but his eyes were empty, and his mouth moved in jerky, unnatural ways, like a puppet learning to speak. "You weren't supposed to come back," it said in a voice that sounded like Mason's but echoed with something deeper, something ancient. Sarah wanted to scream, but no sound came out. She watched as more shadows closed in, each one stretching and shifting, becoming faces she recognized. People she knew had gone missing over the years. A girl from her high school, the old man who used to jog by the park, a missing kid whose face was once on a milk carton. All of them here, trapped, or worse. "You let it see you." "The knot," Mason said, tilting its head. "Now it knows your name." The tree pulsed behind them, like it had a heartbeat of its own. Its branches twitched. Its bark shimmered with movement, like something crawled underneath it, just out of view. Suddenly, the vision shattered, and Sarah stumbled back, gasping. She was on the ground, her flashlight flickering beside her. Her head was spinning, and her chest ached, like she'd been running for hours. The tree looked the same as before, but she didn't feel the same. Something was off. She scrambled to her feet and ran. She didn't care about the branches scratching her arms or the roots trying to trip her. She just ran until the woods thinned and she could see her car. She didn't stop until the doors were locked and the engine roared to life. She didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the knot mason staring at her with those dead eyes. She couldn't shake the feeling that she hadn't left the tree behind, like some part of it had followed her home. She started seeing things in the corners of her eyes, shapes that weren't there when she turned to look. Her phone glitched constantly. Lights flickered when she walked past. And then there were the knocks. Always 3, always at night, always from the walls. Not the doors, the walls. She moved out of her apartment within a week, thinking maybe distance would help. But it didn't matter. She wasn't running from a place. She was running from something tied to her name, to her presence. One night, she woke up to find dirt on her floor. Dark, dry soil, like the kind beneath the tree. There were footprints too, leading from her bed to the window and back. She lived on the 3rd floor. No balcony, no fire escape. Sarah knew it was only a matter of time before it came for her fully. Whatever power lived in that tree wasn't just haunting her. It was studying her, waiting. She didn't know if Mason was alive or not, but whatever was left of him was no longer human. It had become part of that place, and soon, she feared, so would she. The last thing she wrote, in a note she left on her nightstand, read, "If you find this, don't look for me. Burn the tree. Don't go near it. Don't say its name. Don't let it hear yours. It's always listening." Nobody saw Sarah again after that. But a week later, hikers found a fresh name carved into the bark, and this time, it was hers.